Well, it belongs to Neighborhood Association, so it's private,
Gotcha.
but
But it's a
public. Yeah.
yeah, that's in my group, so.
It is 6:01, and I'd like to call the Lake Worth Beach Community Redevelopment Agency regular meeting for Tuesday, February 11th to order. Roll call, please.
Miss Ann Fairfax. Here. Miss Caroline Shamshi Basha. Miss Leah Furch.
Here.
Mr. Drew Bartlett.
Here.
Miss Donna Kerner. Is not present. Mr. Daniel Morgan.
Here.
I believe he's online. And Miss Carla Blockson.
Here. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to have a motion for Daniel to join us via Zoom. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll move to approve or move to allow Daniel to appear by Zoom.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Aye.
Sorry, guys.
It's okay. Regarding our agenda, do we have any additions, deletions, or reorderings? None, thank you. Now we will have public comment on non-agended items. If you would like to make a public comment, please come up. And let's start on this side over here in the front and move to the back. Is there anyone who has a public comment on that side?
Good afternoon, Andrea Howard, 129 South Gulfville Road, 33460. Dear Mayor and City Commissioners, I urge this commission to approve the relocation of the structures to allow the. Oh, I'm sorry. So
You can come back when we
Yeah, okay,
reach that
thank you.
point. Yes,
Thank
thank you.
I'm sorry, the first time.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm just happy to see you. So it's okay. Is there anyone else on that side who'd like to make a comment on non-agended items? Okay, let's move to the other side, front to back. Is anyone would like to make a comment on non-agended items?
Jenny Powell, 224 North Palm Way. Good evening,
Good evening.
chairperson and board members. I didn't really prepare comments, but I have a couple things to say. I hope they come out right. It's never good when I just ad lib. Okay. Regarding WMOTA, we've been told for a while that it's not a done deal. Changes can be made. I would like to see, I mean, there are, you know, my concerns. I've been up before you before. I've been up in front of the commission before. I would like to, and not just me, but others, I think, have said, voiced something similar. Some sort of, well, there's concerns because it's museum attendance is down. It's been down since COVID and not coming back to where it was. I did go down to the museum. I made the effort. I went down by myself the last Saturday before Christmas, and I went to the museum, and I found it to be pretty nice, better than I hoped. I don't think that it is going to draw 50,000 people a year, and I don't know. That is a number thrown out by the WMOTA people, and I would like to see us have a little assurance that we are going to get that, and that 2 or 3, 4 years down the road, we're not going to find that the museum cannot be supported, that there aren't enough people. So I think if everybody feels so strongly that this project is going to be successful, we could have some sort of performance measure and reverter clause, or I'm not sure what it's called exactly. That word was thrown out to me, but to say, well, if it's not successful after 5 years or whatever, and they try to, apparently they can do what they want. Once they have control of that, they can do what they want, maybe within reason, but so far it seems like they've been getting everything they want. So I would like to see something that I want to make sure that they don't get to convert the museum to more luxury apartments, because that's not going to do anything to draw. I mean, I don't know. What's the assurance that they won't do that? Is there something in there that would prevent them from doing that? My understanding is there is not. Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll pose that as a question to be answered at some point in the near future. I would like to see that. And if there is a chance to make changes at this time, then I would like something like that. I mean, I'm not an attorney, so I don't know exactly how that language would read, but I think that is fair for those of us who have more doubts about this project. If the city is so sure it'll be successful, if Mr. Weiner and his group are so sure it'll be successful, then I think it would be fair to ask for something like that. Thank you.
There is an item on, David Tulsis, Board Attorney. There is an item on the agenda related to the contributing structures agreement. And that is what will be discussed tonight during the agenda.
You want to talk now about something else, or did you want to make a comment regarding that? Okay, come on up. We'll know in a moment.
Hi, I'm Victoria Doyle from 920 North Gulfview, Lake Worth Beach. I understand there are a lot of concerns about the potential success or failure of a museum, and I would say that I think that's true for every business that wants to open in our city, and there is never a guarantee. I would also say that the Norton has gone to great lengths to expand its offerings, to bring in people like live music on Friday nights and dance parties and movies and talks. And I think the potential at a museum for expansive programming is probably greater, and therefore more flexible to an economy and what's happening in real time than, let's say, a large retail store of a particular item if that were to try to open downtown. I note that that restaurant, and I'm going to forget the name, Kana,
That's close.
open for 2 seconds.
Right.
So it happens. Finally, as I have also said before the city commission, I find the addition of an art museum to be an extraordinary opportunity for our city, because I think it links our arts, culture, and sort of big plan, master plan, to be an arts hub with so many of the other artistic happenings in our region, from Miami to Fort Lauderdale, but also the Norton, the Bunker, now Lake Worth Beach with the Benziton and the Gulfstream Hotel. And it just all feels very fluid and artsy and wonderful. So I'd like to have nice things in our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Please come on.
Hi, Janet Serrano, 413 North L Street, Lake Worth Beach, Florida. I just pulled up something I wanted to just point out. It was the Palm Beach Art Convention show that we recently had in January of this year. They doubled their attendance from last year, and they said that their sales absolutely soared. So there is interest in the arts community in our county, and I think it's shown by this latest data from the Palm Beach Convention Bureau. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Greg Richter. Went on the Google machine, check out what was happening in museum attendance. Museum attendance plummeted during COVID. But if you look at statistics that are out there now, they're basically almost back to pre-pandemic levels. In 2022 to from 2021 to 2022, it doubled. It went from 72 million to 141 million, and it's continuing to climb up, and it's basically at pre-pandemic levels. So museum attendance is doing well.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to make a comment? We'll move on to our minutes agenda from January 14th. Would you like a moment before we have a motion?
I'll move approval of the January 14th minutes.
And a second?
I'll second that.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. It passes unanimously. Now we will have our presentation from W Moda, the update, Renee Miller.
Good evening, Chair and Board. It is a pleasure to see you this evening. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to continue to provide updates. Before I jump into our presentation, I just wanted to make sure that you can hear me okay and my presentation is being
Renee, this is David Tolsis. We can't hear you via audio,
Uh-oh.
so if you want to hold on 1 second.
Sure.
Renee, can you try to talk?
Sure. Can you hear me now?
Nope, not working yet. Hold on.
Yeah.
please.
Okay.
Gonna be way behind them, isn't it?
It is, but absent any other options.
Was it working before?
Renee, can you try again, please?
Yes, just making sure. Can you hear me now?
Yes, you can.
Woohoo! Okay, good things. Okay, let me share my screen once more. All right. All right, just making sure everyone can see the presentation first slide.
We see it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Great to be with you again this evening. Again, Renee Miller, president of R. Miller Consulting Group, and I'm here this evening representing the WMOTA Mixed Use Cultural Arts Campus project. As this body is keenly aware, we have been successful in moving through the first of our 6 major agreements that are associated with implementing the WMOTA Mixed Use Campus. The first 2 was, of course, the development agreement and the purchase and sale agreement for this project. As we've discussed several times, there are 4 other agreements, associated agreements, that are required to be able to put some specificity to some of the specific deliverables that either the city and or the CRA and the developer are required to collaborate to complete. That is the contributing structures relocation agreement, which is before you this evening, further in your agenda, the K Street Garage construction agreement, and the long-term parking agreement and the long-term maintenance agreement for the Arts Alley. Specifically, I want to clarify because there was some confusion there. This is the long-term maintenance agreement for the Arts Alley between L and M streets only. The long-term maintenance agreement for the Arts Alley has been approved. That was approved by the City Commission on February 4th. And the contributing structures relocation agreement was also approved at the commission level on February 4th. And that is before you this evening. The 2 other major agreements that will be coming before you in the upcoming weeks are the K Street Garage construction agreement and the long-term parking agreement. At this time, we are currently working on improving the site plan and the aesthetics and the design of the project overall. We have heard a lot from the community about tweaks to the design to ensure that it aligns with the historic preservation guidelines and the major thoroughfare guidelines. We are working with our historic preservation consultant. We are also working with the city staff in the sustainability department to be able to ensure that what we put forward aligns with the adopted vision for the city along Lake Avenue. Important to mention here as well is our partner in this, Dale Chihuly Studios, also is working with us on the interior design for consultation and also must approve the ultimate design that is submitted to the city. So there are many cooks in the stew, and that's okay. That makes a better project. And we're moving through that process at this time. We anticipate that our application, our site plan review application, will be submitted in the next couple of months. And it will go through, as we've discussed, all of the same requirements, and I'll go through the critical path in our upcoming slides as any other major development would on Lake Avenue. So where are we in terms of this very complex critical path? We are currently in the additional agreements phase. You'll see there it's marked by the red arrow. Once we complete those additional agreements, we'll be through our inspection period, and we can then move to what we refer to as the government approvals phase. It's in that phase where we will be required, per our contractual obligation, to submit to the city a full site plan review application, in which we will be required, as any developer, to do our neighborhood meetings. We will then move forward to a public hearing in front of the Historic Preservation Board, and then we will go through to two meetings of the City Commission, or 2 hearings, public hearings with the City Commission. If that goes well, we move on to our building permit process. Once we receive our building permits, then we move on to our financing and closing phase, and then our construction phase, and then in a sequence of events, delivering, if this all moves forward, the K Street Garage, the museum parcel, and the residences last in the process. I wanted to just take a minute. We've been very busy. As you know, we have opened officially our doors. We had a soft opening in December. In January, we officially opened our doors full-fledged. And since that time, we've gotten a lot of attention in the press. And we will be featured tonight. So you guys set your, I was about to say VCR, I'm aging myself, set your whatever streaming services to record. We'll be featured on WXEL today, 11 o'clock at 7:30 p.m. There is a program called Art Loft, and they'll be doing a 30-minute showcase just on the art scene in South Florida, and specifically touring our museum and talking with our executive director and curator about our collection. Included in that collection is, and as many of you have seen, are wonderful works of art from all over the world. And I do want to feature, and I'll talk about a little bit more in our next slide, a longtime partnership that we've had with one of our key exhibits. But I would be remiss in not sharing with you our excitement about, again, for a second year participating in the Street Art Festival, the Lake Worth Beach Street Art Festival. We will be partnering with local artist Eduardo Medina. He is going to be doing our art on the street, and it'll be representative of WMOTA and our collection and our connection to the community and to the youth in our community. So please come and see us and say hello and take a look at our art. Finally, I wanted to, in honor of Black History Month, and also just to feature and give a little bit of press to our partners at Ardmore, who this year are celebrating their 40th anniversary of their existence. Many of you, we were able to share this story. WMOTA is has the largest collection of Ardmore art textiles in the world. Our partnership with the Ardmore company goes back decades. And the pictures that you see before you are just kind of a small sampling of the collection that we do have now that exists in WMOTA. For those of you who aren't aware of Ardmore, Ardmore is a South African grassroots-based art collection. It started 40 years ago when a particular village in South Africa was really reeling from the ravages of HIV and AIDS. And the arts community came together to really highlight some of the exquisite, talent in this village. And it has worked over these years to really uplift this portion of South Africa. This is one of the collections that we are the most excited about showing off. It's so vibrant. And in honor of Black History Month, we do just want to talk about that. And we hope you go back and take another look. We're always adding new pieces. And our partnership has been so strong. Hence, we have the largest collection in the world. And that will be right here in Lake Worth Beach, we hope, in a few years. With that concludes my presentation. And if you have any questions, I am available at the pleasure of the board to answer those questions.
Does any board members have a question for Renee? Okay, Renee, I guess we don't have any questions. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion for approving the consent agenda. And I believe we can do it, all three of them at the same time, if we just word it properly. So can I have a motion?
David, can I say I move to approve consent? Okay. So said.
And I need a second.
I'll second.
And all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All done. We're on to our action agenda. The amendment for agreement with Circuit Microtransit Services.
Madam Chair, Joan Oliva, Executive Director, Lake Worth CRA. So in front of you, you'll see a signed amendment for an agreement that we did with Circuit last year to provide microtransit services to the area from Tri-Rail all the way down to the beach, and I believe 6th to 10th is our current service area. We would like to do an amendment to extend this service for another year. There is a slight 3% increase. We have seen steady increase in ridership. We did talk with the city commission last week about extending the service area a little bit because our wait times are actually pretty good. So if you have any suggestions, we'll definitely put those down from you tonight. We've heard really nothing but positive feedback from the community. And actually, Jason Bagley is on the phone. If anybody has any specific questions about Circuit, he's more than willing to answer your questions.
Can I get a survey of people who have used it in the room? Great. Yeah, that's terrific.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Did anyone have any questions for Circuit?
No.
I'm
Madam Chair,
Yes.
there's Daniel.
I have a Daniel?
question. I hope I'm not being super loud.
You're fine.
Okay, cool. I do have a couple concerns. I've attempted to hail a ride at 1776 Lake Avenue, which is the Guatemala Maya Center, and the Bodegón supermarket further down on Lake. And the times I've tried to hail a ride there, I have not been able to. And so I would like to bring that to not only the board's attention, but to Circuit's attention, because although I saw on the heat map that there were people being picked up in those areas, my personal experience was that I was not able to. So hopefully that was resolved. But I would just ask that you double check.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, we first needed a motion and a second, and then we would have discussion. So can I have a motion regarding Circuit so that we can begin this properly?
I'll move to approve an amendment with Circuit to extend the agreement for 1 year with the 3%.
I'll second
My
that.
light's on. I thought it was good. Okay.
Second. Now we can have a discussion.
I guess I just have a few comments. I really think it's a really valuable, vital public service, and I think for us, the idea is how do we encourage ridership? I've heard people say we should extend the route north, some say south, some say west. So I guess they're not really concerns. I think it's part of the discussion. I'd love to hear thoughts on this. I don't know if that's really what we're doing today, but, and also will the rate remain at $1? How do we increase advertising? I'll just go through my laundry list here. And the other is, we've spoken about this in like definitely different settings, but how do we encourage local businesses and employees to use the Circuit, park in the Bohemian Garage, and shuttle back and forth to businesses? So I think these are all ways that we could really increase leadership, ridership, and also, think about expanding the routes as well.
Anyone else?
I appreciate that.
I was just going to ask Jason if he wanted to say anything.
Yes, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. Jason Bagley with Circuit. First, want to address Mr. Morgan's questions or concerns. And for quick clarification, when you say you were hailing a ride there, does that mean through the app, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Because we use that term more for like somebody that's on just at a location and walks up to us or waves at us to hail, and then we would use app request. But if this was under your account, I can go in and look at those rides and see, or those requests and see what happened. But I will also confirm on our back end that the Guatemala Mayan Center is in fact in the zone, as well as the supermarket just west of there. So I'll follow up with you on that and confirm that everything's set there, or make sure that it is moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. As far as any other concerns or questions, we did mention last week at the city commission meeting that we have some bandwidth now. We could expand a little bit north, probably, and south, a few blocks in each direction, continue to gather data, but we can also send out a survey first and hear from the community, but totally open to your direction. But I think a quick win would be identifying, say, five 5 to 7 blocks north and south that we could expand to. We also have some private developers interested, Deco Green and potentially the Mid. And our goal there would be to get them to contribute to either add another vehicle or some additional funding for the ability for us to expand to include those 2 properties. So their residents would have an easy way to get downtown.
I think that answered my question. So you're looking at expanding without needing more funds from the CRA or the city?
Yes, in the short term. And then we would want, I mean, our goal anyway is to bring in private funding as well to expand and kind of blend everybody's needs together under one program where there's cost savings and a coherent system for everybody to understand. But that would be our goal. And we are open to expanding, citywide or wherever the demand is or the needs are, we're happy to do that. And that's definitely our goal in all of our markets, to just continue to grow the program and open up the access to more residents.
Perfect. I appreciate that.
Now that we've had our discussion, it is time for public comment. If you would like to make a public comment on this item, please come to the podium.
My name is Alex Schultz, 612 2nd Avenue South. I've talked to a few businesses downtown about Circuit. They really like it. What would be really good if you had like a continuous shuttle that went from the Bohemian to like the Avenue and then the Cerner Avenue and back. One of the concerns some of the businesses expressed to me was that Circuit shuts down too early. So you might, if you just on a parking shuttle, you may want to consider that to the Bohemian. I've since September been going there, and the Bohemian is projecting a 3.7 million loss through 2035. And if we're going to assume that loss, why don't we do it in such a way where the businesses can benefit, give free parking to the employees or $1 a day or something. But let's make use of a felt asset. After the meeting, I'll give everybody a handout with the data Ms. Coyne provided me. And I actually consider that Bohemian Ghost Garage. Like I say, I go there regularly. One night I saw Joan over there, not Joan Rivers. She actually is there for the winter because she likes Palm Beach. She visits the museums at midnight. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Good evening, Ramsey McLeod, 24 South C Street. I'm very excited to hear that the fact that they can expand the route now that we're doing so well with it. So I would suggest that we go 10th Avenue North to 10th Avenue South. That south, it puts us right at Madison Terrace, which should be coming online in the very near future. So we wouldn't have to worry about providing transit for our senior citizens who'll be coming into that complex. And 10th Avenue North really gets a lot of people who have said, I'm just past 7. I'm just past where they can pick me up. You're not the Hatter yet, but we're getting there. So I'm not rushing y'all. But it's exciting that we're able to get this working and it's being received well. I know there's been some low numbers on the west side. And I think the majority of the reason behind that is because you're dealing with a heavily migrant populated area and they don't deal with credit cards at all. They basically everything is cash, or they know people. They kind of work their own transit system within the community. So I don't want that to be kind of a negative for our side. There are people that are using it over there. It's just the availability of having some kind of a credit card kind of a transaction is not real prevalent in a lot of the members that walk over there. So, but I would really appreciate you considering if they can go that far, 4 blocks up and south, that puts us in some main hub areas. It's just 2 blocks north of the big market there at 12th Avenue South. A lot of the residents that are in that area, they could easily hop a transit and get to where they wanted to further north. So I'd appreciate if you take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to raise the point because I know, thank you, Ramsey. I know that Daniel has raised before, there'd be kind of like I don't know what we call it, like a prepaid card that folks could use. So if they didn't have a credit card, they'd buy X amount of dollars and then spend it down. So I don't know what happened with that. Maybe we could ask, the gentleman's name from Circuit?
Jason.
Jason, thanks. Jason, did you look into that at all? Like this prepaid kind of card, a punch card that gets spent down per
Yes,
ride?
we're also looking at like a digital wallet that you could, and that way, if the Guatemala Maya Center directly wanted to prepay, 20 rides and give codes to people to use it, would be an option too. It is in our tech roadmap, and we're planning to build that out, but it has not been a priority, to be honest with you. There's just not a lot of municipalities asking for it, but we do want to add that one day.
That would be
In the
great.
interim,
Really
yeah,
helpful.
I think in the interim, we could do promo codes if there was a sponsor for them. So the rides would be free for the end user.
Could you explain that just a little bit? How that would work?
Yeah, I mean, we offer this to local businesses too. So if a restaurant wanted to say, anybody coming to my restaurant, I'll pay for their ride, we can create a unique promo code. So when somebody goes into the Circuit app, they'll enter that promo code and their rides will be, it can be one free ride, it could be, free rides all month or 10 free rides. So we can sell that or set it up to a business. We could do the same thing for a nonprofit if there was some funding source to cover that cost. Or we can give it, it would be up for you all to decide, but we can also give a certain number of rides every month to different groups.
Like free rides or discounted rides?
Yes. Yep.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
It is now time for a vote on the amendment before you. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry. Oops.
I have one public comment from Vice Mayor Malega. I fully support continuation as expansion of the circuit. During the city commission meeting, I recommended using CDBG funds to expand next year. Thank you.
Now we can vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And do I have any nays? I assume he's an aye. Okay, I think it passed unanimously. Thank you. Now let's move on to item B on the action agenda, interlocal with the city for circuit microtransit services.
So as I mentioned before, the city passed their amendment for another year of circuit at their meeting last week. Therefore, we have an interlocal to extend our agreement with them as well as with circuit. So the city will be paying a little over $100,000 towards circuit for this next year. And the interlocal is in your backup for review, but basically we just bill the city every month and they pay us and then we pay circuit.
Okay.
And that, again, that covers, that covers the area that are areas that are outside of the district, which includes the grocery store, the Guatemalan Mayan Center, the beach, and some other areas on the west side.
Okay, and can we have a motion regarding this item?
I'll move to approve the interlocal with the city of Lake Worth Beach to help provide an additional year of service for microtransit service in and around the city.
I'll second that.
Now we'll have discussion. Do you have any comments for discussion? Now we will have public comment on this item. Does anyone like to make a public comment on this item? I assume not. And so let's take it to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any nay? It passes unanimously. Thank you. Look at item C, the commercial facade grant at 701 Lucerne Avenue, Rustico Italiano, review and determine funding.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Chris DeBrose with the Lake Worth Beach CRA. Before you is another commercial facade grant application and funding request. This one's coming from 701 Lucerne Avenue. The applicant is Mr. Nino Annunziata. As you probably know, he's the owner of the building and the owner of the restaurant inside the building, Rustico Italiano. Last month, he submitted a facade grant application to assist with funding for new upstairs windows, impact windows, plus Bahamian shutters to go over those decorative Bahamian shutters to go over those windows. The application was received, everything checked out. It's a pretty straightforward grant application. The total cost is close to $30,000, or the project's close to $30,000. He's requesting half the funding in the amount of $14,678.50. He is here in the audience. If you have any questions, I believe he's still here. If you have any questions for him and his project, that concludes my presentation. So if you have any questions, please let me know.
First of all, I'd like a motion.
Okay. I move that we award funding to assist with the exterior improvements at 701 Stern Avenue, $14,678 to get the fence and reimbursable matching funds from the facade grant program payable to 701 Stern LLC.
And can I have a second?
I'll second that.
And it is now time for discussion. Sir, if you're here, please come up to the mic in case someone has any questions. Do you have any questions?
I have a question. Hey, I appreciate you bringing this to us and all your investment in Lake Worth Beach. I'm just curious, I walk by your building almost daily. What is the upstairs used for?
I have a bunch of people they use for artistic people use for painting, things like that.
Okay, it's just
there's no real business. It's mostly like a recreational.
Oh, okay.
People. I got a lady that she reads books and she pays the rent just for paid books or reading.
So is it residential but it's just hobby space?
Strictly commercial, but it's mostly people use for painting.
Okay.
I have 3 or 4 artists. So
okay.
There's not like a real transaction money business. There's just
well, I appreciate you providing that space to them. That's fantastic. I was just curious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I think our lawyer wants you to state your name and address.
My name is Nino Gaetano Annunziato.
Grazie.
Sounds Italian. Huh? It's Italian.
Now, I have a question.
Yeah.
If an artist was interested in using your space, is there a way that they could get in touch with you?
Of course, they have to. They have to pay the rent.
Actually, I was looking for a phone number or some a card
say it
that
into
you
the
could leave with
microphone.
us that we can put on our website.
Sure, would be. I can get you the information. You want it now?
Well, it's okay. I can wait till next week.
Sure.
Yes.
I can give it right now.
Okay.
You can give it to staff and staff will provide it to the board.
It's a
Yes.
561.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, later.
It's okay. Thank you.
I'm not leaving the town. I've been here 25 years. So
No,
not
it's a
leaving.
vital service. And I think that if there are artists that are willing to partner with you, I think that that's a great idea.
Absolutely.
So thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you
sure.
for your
You're
idea.
welcome.
I think that concludes our discussion. Do we have a public comment on this item?
You can sit down.
Okay,
Thank you.
Mhm. Mhm.
Vice Mayor Malega, I fully support this grant for Rustico as Nino is a phenomenal business owner who continues to bring patrons to our city.
Is there anyone else who'd like to make a public comment?
Madam Chair, I was wondering if I could make a comment.
Yes, you can.
Although the amount is reasonable, and although I've never had the pleasure of actually visiting the restaurant, I've heard good things about it, and I know it's been around for a while. I believe that because the CRA, has a limited amount of funds for these type of grants, I believe that we should look at any more investment into downtown as a whole, right? The city and the CRA have put in a lot of money into improving business conditions in the downtown area. And like I said, although it's not an unreasonable amount, I personally don't feel that any more grants of this kind should be rewarded to businesses in the downtown because of the amount of money that we already are putting into the downtown. And not that the needs of the owners aren't important and that their projects aren't important, but I see other areas of the city within the CRA district that are blighted, that could benefit from investment, but that haven't come up to the board for one reason or the other. But we have a lot of other areas, I believe, that need attention. And because of limited funds, if we had all the funds in the world, everybody should be able to access them, but we don't. So I will be voting no for that reason.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
Daniel, I couldn't, I agree, that, we're happy to give Nino his money because he's a legitimate owner and he's come forward and he's done the work. And, we want to support, ongoing concerns. Could there be an outreach on our part, to encourage people? Because I think, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. If somebody comes to us, we consider them, but are we being proactive enough? Can we just do a social media thing, or even target all the businesses west of Dixie and let them know? I mean, they may have big concerns and needs that we're not knowing about because they're just not, they don't know what the process is, and do it in Spanish and make sure we can
So
cover
at the
that.
beginning of this year, we did a postcard to all businesses up and down Dixie and Lake and Lucerne in Spanish and English. We also held an information session at the CRA office in the morning, and we actually brought in some of people that we know, so just in case there were some Spanish speakers there, and there were. But we haven't gotten any applications from that outreach, and we do it on social media as well.
Yeah. So it looks like we're doing, but
Trying.
trying to meet that need or that market. Daniel, do you have any suggestions beyond what is going on?
I don't have all the answers, but if the methods that we're using aren't yielding the results that we want, we know the areas that need assistance and help. If maybe it's an issue of outreach, maybe the postcard isn't enough. Maybe I don't know. I haven't participated in that, that effort. I don't know who on staff has, and can maybe comment on the response and the reactions they've had. Maybe it's the way the grant is structured. It's reasonable. How it's structured now, the requirements to put certain amount of money in before you're granted, the amount promised in the grants. What I don't know exactly where the problem lies, but there's no doubt that there's blights on the west side of Dixie, with a lot of businesses that do good business year round, not only during peak tourist seasons, that could benefit from not only infrastructure. I think about the alleyway behind Lucerne, or I'm sorry, Lake Avenue, where the businesses are, where the Catholic College building is. If you look in the back, it could almost be a nice place to walk down, but it's just so full of holes and I wonder, if a fraction of the money that has been invested into downtown could be invested into that area, how much more the people, customers, and business owners could benefit from it. But I don't know what the answer is. If it's outreach, or if it's the way the grant is structured, why we're not communicating or working better with that area. But it needs to be resolved. It has to be resolved. I mean, that's our goal. We have to adapt ourselves to whatever it is that they need from us in order to get the results. We just don't have those results. And like I said, we've done a lot for downtown, a lot. So I'll just leave it there.
I think that it would behoove the ambassadors that sit on the board to reach out to the people in that community and say, the Lake Worth CRA may have some money available to you. We'll be happy to work with you. I know that I've talked to some of the businesses along the Dixie corridor, and a lot of them are unwilling to put the money out at first because then they'll be reimbursed. And so it becomes a financial issue. It is not that they don't want to do it, it's that they're not able to do it because they cannot afford to put the money out to be reimbursed after the project has been completed. And so if we changed our structure to go to not a reimbursable grant, but a grant, that may be helpful, but I think they've tried that in the past and we've gotten burned doing that. So we have to be very conscious of the public's money and saying, how do we make this work? But I'd certainly, maybe one day we could all walk that corridor and try and talk to people and say, hey, we are the CRA and we're interested in helping you with your business. And so that's something that each of us can do. And Daniel, you would be very beneficial because you speak Spanish. So I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, just to pick up on that, because I was actually going to say something along those lines. I think a lot of it is the community engagement, trusted points of contact, people who have the relationships, who are the liaisons. Daniel, I'm not trying to give you a job either, but I know you and I've within not breaking sunshine, but we've talked about it. It's a really important thing to do, pounding the pavement. It's almost like when you're out there door knocking. That's the kind of stuff. It's like eliciting responses, building the relationships, trusted people, and it takes a lot of work. And I appreciate, sending out all the cards and things like that. But we know just from ourselves, we get stuff in the mail and we go, that looks good. Okay, I do that. Recycling, it's like I don't have a relationship, and that's what you have to really build. And I think that you also, Joan, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was like a kind of a education on proposal submissions. I think, Chris, you've done that too.
Chris did, yes.
Right?
And then we put it on social media. And in years past, like we didn't do it this year, but I think it was last year, we actually had one person who worked for Lula staff who volunteered and walked the entire Lake and Lucerne area on the west side. And he spoke fluent Spanish. And we had people who were interested, but once they get in and they see, it's not, I don't want to say it's a difficult application, but it's not an easy application. And saw all the things that they had to do. We just didn't get anybody who finished it. So we have a lot of people start, just not a lot of people finish.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of that, like, the hand holding a bit, the patience.
Chris does a lot of hand.
Your hands look like
He does.
But also, like back to the point, Carla, because I know we've talked about it too, or we've all addressed this, changing the structure, and not to get burnt again, but to be able to make it so that folks who may not have the means and don't have the cash flow to put the money out and then get reimbursed. So it's something, I don't know how we want to figure this out, how we want to discuss it. Maybe we'll have legal counsel on this, but how do we do that in a way to protect ourselves, but to have it so we can.
Yeah, I don't know how you could
audience.
do that. You're pretty much, if they don't have the money to put out to do it, then.
Lesser amounts of money then, maybe. That's what we've discussed.
Yeah,
The grants would be smaller.
Or maybe it
You
could
can
be
apply for a smaller
incremental.
grant. There's nothing stopping people from applying for a smaller grant.
Maybe it's an incremental thing. You could, if it's broken into smaller bits, it might be easier to handle for someone who doesn't have a lump sum.
Is it something that we could workshop or?
It's up to you guys.
I'd certainly be willing to workshop it, but I would like to have the people from that community to come as our guests to join us at the workshop. I don't think it's beneficial to have a workshop of the six of us. I think that we'd have to have the public to be invited as guests. 7 of us. It's okay. But I think if the public was invited, maybe they would give us more information as to how we could assist them. So we can plan to do that.
Carla, I will second that.
Okay. Now that we have.
Can I have one question? Really for Chris, or maybe Joan. Have we ever turned one of these grants away because we ran out of budget? I wouldn't think so. And if you had a good application that came in from anybody, we could always consider a budget amendment to make sure we could pay for it, which I think all of us would be open to. So I don't think
We're expecting more to come in soon.
Okay, good. We like these, right? So, all right, thank you.
At this time, I would invite public comment on this issue. If you'd like to make a public comment, please join us at the podium. No public comment? Okay, time for a vote.
Wait a minute.
Oops.
So what do I say? My name?
Yes, you do.
My name is Sylvia.
And your address?
I'm with North Beach Street. So I just wanted to add to Daniel's comment. I do support the Nino facade thing. But I also wanted to say that what he says is very blighted. We have a lot of issues with drug addicts and drug dealers behind those areas and prostitution. So I recommend First Church of Nazarene. Talk to the pastor there. First Church of Nazarene is located at 1401 2nd Avenue North. And the pastor is Pastor Donna Carlisle. She can tell you way more information than I could of what's going on behind those alleyways because she receives all the police phone calls. So, yeah, I just wanted to share that one point of contact when you guys do have your workshop with invited guests.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Would anyone else like to make a public comment regarding this issue? Now we may take a vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Any nays?
Nay.
The motion passes with one nay. Thank you, Daniel. At this time, we're going to move on to the public-private partnership with City and Sunshine Lake Worth Development Contributing Structure Relocation Agreement. Joan.
And then I also presentation. Okay. I know you are. So what we're going to do tonight is Renee and I actually going to tag team. She's going to bring you up to date on kind of, which I know she has already, but a little bit more on how we got to where we are. And then I'm going to explain the relocation agreement in a little more detail. So you don't have to read 40 pages. And then she'll sum it up and then tell you where we go from here. So I'm going to let her kick it off. Renee? Oh, hold on. We got to bring it up first.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Joan.
There you go. We're good. Thank you, Renee.
Wonderful. If we could advance to the next slide, please. So this evening we are, our plan is to just give a little bit of background because we have been talking about these items for a very long time. So I know it's sometimes hard to remember all of the moving parts that we have worked through over the last year plus. Provide a project overview, just remind everyone with respect to the deal structure, talk about the contributing structures agreement, and then the critical path that includes the elements that are subject to the agreement that's before you this evening. So just as a background, I know this is not the first time that this body has seen the slide. The WMOTA Museum project from the city and CRA perspective was to leverage private investment to accomplish three things that sit within the city and CRA realm. First was to preserve, relocate, and reuse the contributing structures that we're discussing tonight, to provide some financial support to the city to construct the city's K Street parking garage, and also a solution for the implementation of some sort of parking program in the downtown to address the identified needs, the parking studies that were presented in 2018 and 2024. Next slide, please. Oh, next slide, please. Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Yes, thank you. Overall, what we've been talking about is a downtown plan development concept that doesn't just include the WMOTA L&M sites proper, but it also includes our partners at the Cultural Council. It includes the city, and of course, it includes the CRA. So there are many moving parts overall that work together to make this mixed-use campus a reality. And our thought process is, while the development agreement does not address any future development by WMOTA for the Cultural Council lot, or particularly for the CRA-owned lots on KN First, but what it does include, it includes us partnering with the city to provide the proposed parking garage for the city to own and operate. And it does incorporate our relocation of the structures that exist on L and M on the sites that are shown on the map before you. So just to be a little bit more specific, if you take a look at the lower left-hand corner of the map, you will see K and First, and you will see that per the conversation that was had with the City Commission in December of last year, the consensus was that we would relocate the 3 remaining structures as you see here. The larger 26 South L building would be located on, I'm showing it on the corner. That is just artistic license somewhere as designated by the CRA on the lot located in K and First. And the other 2 structures that are currently sit at 17 South M would be located across the street on the west side, adjacent to the proposed city parking garage. The 17 South M main structure and the 17 South M garage. That's what you see there. Next slide, please. As we've discussed previously, the development deal structure is made up of 6 agreements, 2 of which have already been approved, or sorry, 3 of which have already been approved, and 1 that's before you this evening, which has been approved previously by the City Commission, which is the Contributing Structures Relocation Agreement. With that, I think I'll turn it over to you, Joan.
Great, thank you, Renee. So again, we're talking in general about the WMOTA mixed use agreement, going back to the agreement that we signed back in November with the city and WMOTA. But included in that agreement is a particular structure relocation agreement, and we're bringing that specific part of it to you tonight to explain exactly how and where and when we're going to be moving those structures. So as a reminder, what Renee just said, the leisure services building and the parking building, which is 17 South M, will be moved to K and First on the northwest side, and that would be in front of the garage. 26 South L will be moved somewhere on the 30 South K lot. That is a lot that is owned by the CRA. We've owned it for a number of years now. Our intention with that lot was to put up to 21 affordable units there. So if we were to move that home there, that would be 4 of the 21. And then finally, 24 South L, we were going to move that to 126 South J, and we were going to use that as an affordable unit over there with community partners. And unfortunately, we had a fire just last month, and we are not able to do that. So we're kind of scrambling with a new plan for 126 South J. I'm just going to go back to the map, even though Renee's already explained it. So you'll see 26 South L is number 1. It's on the 30 South K lot. Again, not necessarily in that exact location. 17 South M in the garage would go across the street in front of the proposed city parking garage, next to the ingress and egress for that garage. So also in the agreement that was signed last November, and according to the critical path that's also attached to that, are these other agreements that need to move forward, and they include the garage financing, the structure relocation agreement. That is what we're talking about tonight. The homes themselves cannot be moved until the entitlements are received by WMOTA. An entitlement means their site plan would be approved, which does not happen until after a community meeting, DRC approval, the Historic Preservation Resource Board approval, and 2 hearings by the City Commission. The relocation agreement provides for Sunshine Lake Worth Development, which is the developer of WMOTA, to provide up to $500,000 to move the structures, and they will actually manage the moving of those structures. If for some reason the costs come in under $500,000, that savings that WMOTA has will go to the city to help pay for the Arts Alley extension. And again, the Arts Alley extension agreement was approved by the City Commission last week. Again, 17 South M will be used by City Leisure Services and the parking departments. 26 South L will be restored and used as part of an affordable housing project on 30 South K. Although W Moda is paying for the moving, foundations, and exterior utility connections, renovation of those structures would be either borne by the city or the CRA. And the city and CRA will also be responsible for paying permit fees and utility connections. Thank you. So there's a lot of specifics in this development, and excuse me, in this development agreement, which I think is very important for us to look over. The developer, before they move any of the homes, they must do a relocation assessment and documentation report. And so in that report is a structural integrity report, historic documentation of the structure, site readiness, whether or not they need to use some kind of like straps or something else to help move them, a transportation methodology, because the street itself from the inside of the sidewalk to sidewalk is only 40 feet and 26 South L is 40 feet. So it's going to be a difficult move, but certainly possible. That report will also include a final cost and budget and insurance and bonding. Developer is also having an independent preservation consultant to oversee the compliance with historical standards. The city shall be responsible for moving signs and some of the vegetation that may be in the way of us moving those homes there. We're only going to move vegetation and signs when we absolutely have to. After the relocation of this, Sunshine Lake Worth Beach shall commence relocation of the contributing structures no later than 90 days after the closing date. And again, we cannot close on this until they get all of their entitlements. And of course, they'll be providing all necessary insurance and bonds associated with the relocation of those homes. Renee, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Joan. This is a critical path that you've seen before. I just went over that in my presentation this evening. But one of the things I wanted to call out, as this is quite busy, is if you take a look at the red boxes, as you can see, the relocation and assessment report and all the documentation associated with it will be provided to the city and the CRA after our entitlement approval is completed. So at that time, we all collaborate together, city, CRA, and the developer, with respect to the scope of services for the report. That scope of services, once we collaborate together, we will move forward as the developer to pay for that, and then provide the findings and the report to the city and the CRA, for which the city and the CRA review and approve, and then we move forward with our contractual relationship to effectuate the move upon closing on L&M. That would be only after, as a reminder, we cannot close on the L&M parcels until we have building permits in hand and have provided sufficient proof to the CRA that we have the financing required to construct the full project.
I also just wanted to add that when that structural assessment comes back, staff is not approving it. We are bringing it to the board, and I'm sure the city is going to bring it to their commission for them to review before we make any decisions moving forward. So it's not something staff's going to just stamp. We're going to bring it back to you for your approval and direction.
Madam Chair, you want a motion?
I do.
Okay, I'd like to move that we approve the contributing structures relocation agreement with the city of Lake Worth Beach and Sunshine Lake Worth Development.
Looking for a second.
That's right. Second that.
Now it is time for discussion. Can we have discussion from the people on the board?
I have a question about the structural engineering report. My experience in Lake Worth Beach, I actually owned a pretty decrepit cottage at 202 North Federal, and I could have rehabilitated it. These cottages, as I've stated before, are very resilient. They're made with Dade County pine that is resistant to insects. You may have some termite damage, that sort of thing. They're very renewable, but I was asked, I didn't need this cottage. I didn't have the resources to restore it. And so the city, the fellow in the city came over and he declared it, was, he could tear it down. He gave me permission to do that. And I knew in my heart of hearts that I could have, as an architect or, on job sites all the time, I could have rehabilitated it. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is you can get a structural engineer can go in and say that this is a deplorable building and you can't rehabilitate it. What is within our power to challenge a structural engineer's report or an architect's report?
Good evening, David Tolsas, Board Attorney. I think the important part of the process with respect to challenging is the fact that these reports will be brought back to the board. So certainly if there are questions about the factual analysis that the structural engineer does, that you'll be able to ask those questions, staff will be able to ask those questions, and we'll all have a transparent discussion. And it won't simply be a business decision as far as, okay, it's going to cost too much money, So is there a value in trying to save the structure, notwithstanding what the structural engineer says? And that's a policy decision that you as a board and the city commission will have to make with respect to those structures.
You can present very, very scary pictures that people will just lay down and say, oh, but all you have to do is do what architects do. So I would just kind of say it would be quite convenient if these buildings were declared defunct. That would be a great thing for WMOTA would be very happy about that. They wouldn't have to go through, they'd save 500 grand and.
But no, the money that they would save would go to the arts alley. So.
That's correct.
So either way, they're paying it.
Either way, they're going to pay.
Yeah.
So.
Well, maybe we'd be happy. We wouldn't have to pay to rehabilitate them. But I will remind everyone that we have a very robust historic district that needs to be preserved. And it was with great sadness that we consolidated these lots and we have lost building after building after building, one of which was the first woman who in Florida who was ever a member of the newly formed AIA. And she was invited to become a member and it was just swept aside. So, it's a bit of a stain on us that happened. And I think these will become treasures in the future. So.
Does anyone else have a comment?
Yeah, I just actually, and I was waiting for your summation to see where you were going with that, whether you're a yay or a nay to keep them and restore them.
Oh, absolutely restore them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, good.
Sorry, was I vague on that?
Well, you were talking about your decrepit. I heard decrepit.
Yeah, I'm saying that,
I
was given
like easy
permission to tear this cottage down. And it was in the historic district and it was a easy kind of thing. So I can see how easily we could get from, oh, gee, let's just tear them down. And I think this board should try to keep that in mind, that with the scale and the character is something that attracts people. And the authenticity of an historic district is vital. And it's what attracted the museum to I think the WMOTA folks they came here because of that.
Yeah, I was going to say, certainly it's expensive to relocate buildings. Certainly it's expensive to revitalize, refurbish buildings. But I think people in this community, for the very reasons you said, want to preserve these buildings, the historicity. It's expensive, but that's what makes this charming and unique. And we have cottages that we don't have anywhere outside of
Right. And it's the incremental chipping away. Oh, it's just one cottage, it's
Right.
just one cottage that we lost. And there was another cottage we just lost, I believe, that is, was
Due to fire.
to the fire. So, it's just a chipping away of these things. So
If I might, Madam Chair, I think it's important to note that this agreement, you're not deciding tonight what to do with those structures. You're just providing for the ability of the CRA, the city, and WMOTA to collaborate under this agreement and make sure that the proper steps are followed and the proper analysis is done so that the city commission and the CRA board can ultimately make those decisions, whether from a business perspective or from a historic preservation perspective.
Madam Chair, may I clarify one point as well?
Yes.
Thank you so much. I just want to, for the record, state that the intent of the structural engineer's report is not to say you should tear it down or not tear it down. So I want to be super, super clear about that, and to be super clear that WMOTA does not have a dog in the tear it down or not tear it down fight. We are, and we have structured this agreement that we will support the relocation of the structures per the city and the CRA's instruction up to $500,000. Anything underneath that, we give back to the city. So we're in for this for $500,000, whether we move 3 structures, 1 structure, 2 structures, whatever it is. We are supporting the city with that amount of funds, city and the CRA. So our structural report is meant to say, okay, this is the integrity of the building, house mover, here's what we're dealing with. That should help you to have more accuracy in this other portion that needs to be provided, which is what are the reinforcement measures that need to be used when you have to move it. So a building that has a little bit more challenges, we can reasonably assume will need to have a little bit more effort and resources placed into the reinforcement measures necessary to get it from point A to point B. So that's the idea there, not for someone to say, you should just tear this down. It is for someone to say, here's the challenges that we face. How do we move through that? And how much is that going to cost? And ultimately, City CRA, you tell us, what do you want to do?
Thank you for that reassurance, Renee. I appreciate it.
Can I just ask,
anyone else have?
Would I be able to ask a follow-up question? Like, can we say with like 100% certainty that the structures will end up in these proposed locations? Or is that still up in the air?
As far as I know, this is where they will be, unless somebody has a better idea.
And why I'm asking that too is because I think we were still, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, Joan.
Sure.
But that the proposed location for the garage and where it was going to extend out to, was that still up in the air? Because that was going to impact those 2 structures down on the left hand.
Yeah, well, it's not up in the air anymore because the city commission has already approved this. So we're moving forward with moving the 2 homes to the edge of that lot and then the other one on our lot right across the street.
Okay, thanks.
Follow up on that. Wasn't an original idea to put them all on the south side of the garage? And
Yes, but then when we changed the entrance and exit from the garage, it wasn't going to fit. 26 South L, and that's why we moved it across the street to 30 South L.
do you know why we changed the entrance and
Because that K Street is only one way, and it would be much better to have queuing, I think, on First Avenue and
Very
ingress and
logical.
egress have both ways. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyone else?
I got kind of a comment. Or
Okay.
do you want to? Okay, so the so I think it's a real decision. So I remember when we purchased that lot on the corner of K and First, got it for a great price. But that idea was we were going to convert that into affordable housing. And so now we have another structure suddenly needing to go there. So it kind of changes the dynamic of that redevelopment into affordable housing a little bit, right? And so it's going to be a value judgment. I think you're right. You know, when we get the costs and we get what it's going to cost and we have a budget, we're going to have to make a decision as to whether it's worth renovating or not. That's going to be a decision. So what I'm hoping is that's not a purely financial decision, right? So that there's values and history and other things that we need to be made aware of for that discussion. So as we're looking at the numbers and we're really wanting to invest in affordable housing, there's going to be a tug on our money, the investment and what we're trying to pursue for affordable housing and a renovation on history, right? So a renovation to preserve historic structures. So I think as we have that discussion, as much information as we have about the history of the structures and what they are. I lived across the street from these structures when I first got to Lake Worth Beach, and I never walked out of my house and marveled at them, right? So it was because maybe I didn't know the history, right? And I don't know what's on the inside. I don't know anything about them. So I think as we have that discussion, which is later, I mean, I want to move forward with this right now to keep Momoda going. I think being able to have enough information on the history would be very helpful for that discussion. So.
And if I could just follow on to that, I think we had a conversation. I think Joan, I'd asked if we could do a tour, because at one point we were only able to see the outsides. We had an outside, kind of like a drive-by, but we couldn't get in. So is that possible?
Have to sign a waiver.
Yeah.
Sign away our
I
lives.
believe that's what we did. I believe we offered it to the commission and the board at some point, and you guys had to sign waivers. I don't remember exactly when that was.
I haven't gone in. I'd
No, I'd like to.
But
Yeah, from a liability perspective, we would not recommend it. But if you absolutely positively want to go, then we would ask that you sign a waiver for release of liability.
It's fine. My head's hard.
But it's not your,
I'm teasing.
it's the floors.
No, I think it's also like at one point, it was one of my first meetings. I remember going on a whole thing about demolition by dereliction. I think even the mayor picked up on something along those lines. So I think this goes way back. This is like, we got to go into the way back machine on this.
Well,
But it's still, here we are now.
Way back is that the CRA got an order authorizing it to move and or demolish them, subject to getting a development order. That was challenged. We won on appeal. So, a lot of it was as a result of the court process that we went through that took a long time, that prevented the CRA from doing that. But that's old history. And now we're moving forward, and we'll get a new report and we'll bring it to the city commission. We'll bring it to the CRA board, and we'll decide what we want to do, what's best.
Thanks.
I think what's important to remember is that we are giving permission tonight to initiate this process. We are not agreeing to demolishing anything. We're not agreeing to restoring anything. We're saying, let's have the discussion so the project can move forward. But you have to remember that we are the gatekeepers. When they come back with the dollars and cents, we will be the ones that will make the decision and make the recommendation to the city commission. And the city commission will have to do their due diligence to say whether or not they think this is a good idea. So this is by no means the end of the project, and we're not trying to force anyone to do anything. We need to start this process so we know where we're going as a city and as a CRA. And I'm sure that WMODA would like to know where they're going with this project. So with that said, I am open to public comment on this issue.
Madam Chair, can I just real quick?
I'm sorry, Daniel. Yes, go ahead.
I'm remembering back to the, meeting we had regarding these cottages and the decision behind demolishing some of them and keeping some of them. I believe what I took away from that meeting was that we were preserving or keeping these in place because there was hopes that they would be incorporated into the grand L&M project. I said then, and I say now, that there should be no more public dollars invested into these cottages. If nobody wanted to buy them before, nobody wanted to take them for free and move them wherever they wanted. If these individuals with this artistic background can't incorporate these historical buildings into their campus, then it should just stop there. Imagine if the city, the CRA, gave them these plots of land with these homes on it. They would have to pay themselves to get rid of it because they don't want to incorporate it into their campus. So to phrase it in such a way that makes it sound like WMODA is a partner in affordable housing, which they are not. All the affordable housing is coming from the CRA and from the city, but they're just accepting these conditions and incorporating into their campus. Is wrong. And if you told anybody, if you walked down the street and you went to a multifamily home, people who are in need of affordable housing, and you told them how much money the city was putting behind these structures for the sake of historical preservation, they would be dumbstruck. We should not invest any more money into this. If they want to, they should decide what they want to do with them. It's in their future property. They should just decide what to do with it. It's not affordable housing. It's historical preservation for historical preservation's sake. I don't think that the city's charm would be diluted if these cottages were to go away. And I'm fervently against any more money being put into these cottages or into this project as a whole, quite frankly. So I'll be voting no.
At the time, if we will have public comment on this issue. If you'd like to make a public comment, please approach.
Alex Schultz, 612 Second Avenue South. Before the city moved and the CRA, before they move forward on any project, I think they should be getting a handle on how the Bohemian parking garage is resulting in such a loss. If we're going to be losing millions, 3.7 over the next 10 years, and it's out to the city commission last Tuesday.
You get a copy too.
Yep. If you don't get a handle on why,
You need to speak into the mic.
if you don't get a handle on why the Bohemian went wrong, I just think it's gross dereliction of duty. You're losing money there. I'll tell you, I go downtown every Friday and Saturday night and survey. There's almost always parking available. So if you're going to be putting a K Street garage, people are going to have a hard time getting there. You're just going to have an oversurplus of parking, and we're going to have another lost garage. It's going to be the Bohemian Lost 2 garage. If you want to see a really great development, go to Sunday Village, Delray Beach, Sunday, SUNDY. They have lined Swinton Avenue, a block south of Atlantic Avenue, both sides with historic homes. Everything is proportionate. Everything is, really attractive. I never thought Delray could do it so well. They had a 2-day symposium in October. They brought officials in from the state and throughout the country to explain how to preserve your historic downtown and keep it vibrant. And in terms of art museums, Bellevue Arts Museum had to close down in September. They've gone into receivership. Just like Lake Worth, within a few miles of that museum, you have people who are struggling. You have a guy by the name of Bill Gates. He's just 2.8 miles away from the Bellevue Arts Museum. He gave over 20 million. He can no longer can afford. He's so poor now. And then you also have a guy there who started his business in a garage in 1994 in the shadow of the Bellevue Arts Museum. That guy is named Jeff Bezos. They just came to the point they couldn't afford the Bellevue Arts Museum, a museum about the same size of WMOTA's proposed museum. So if Bellevue Arts couldn't succeed there, it's not going to, I think WMOTA is going to have a hard time there. The whole nation's in a crisis. As the one newspaper said, we're not in a museum crisis, we're in a museum aftermath. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to make a come forward, please?
Do I have to say my name and address?
Yes, you do.
Anthony Zeitlin, 117 18th Avenue South. I was born and raised here. I said the same thing at the commission meeting as well. Honestly, I have no memories of those cottages. I don't really care about them. I think Daniel's completely right. I think that they're just kind of a speed bump in the big greater scheme of things. That being said, I think there are also bigger fish to fry. I mean, look at the pool. I have a lot of memories of the Lake Worth pool, which is currently empty. I know the Lake Worth High School pool is also empty. I'm sure they have their reasons, but I think that the money could be better spent elsewhere, including the infrastructure of the city, like the roads and the potholes. So that's all.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to make a comment?
Erin Allen, 208 South Lakeside Drive. I think one of the great things about this entire process has been the fact that we were able to find a way to preserve these historic cottages, right? And repurpose them somehow into this project. And so I'll be very brief. I'm just looking forward to the passage of this evening so we can keep this project on track.
If that is our last public comment, come on. I was waiting for you.
Good evening, Andrea Howard, 129 South Gulfview Road. Dear Mayor and City Commissioners, I urge this commission to approve the relocation of the structures to allow the WMOTA project to move forward. I'm pleased that there is a solution to pressure to preserve these structures and honor their historical value to our city. This museum will be a transformative addition to the Lake Worth Beach, creating a cultural and landmark that enhances our downtown and drives economic growth. The project will attract visitors, support local businesses, and establish our city as premier destination for arts and history. I strongly encourage your support in making this vision a reality.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there anyone else?
Emily Scott. Emily.
Okay, Emily. Yes.
The Town Site Condominium Owners Association supports the proposed contributing structures relocation agreement between the City of Lake Worth Beach, CRA, and Sunshine Lake Worth Development. As adjacent property owners, we recognize the importance of preserving the historic character of our community while fostering smart and sustainable redevelopment. The relocation of the contributing historic structures to the K Street parking garage area is a thoughtful solution that supports the continued revitalization of downtown Lake Worth Beach. We appreciate the CRA's efforts. The proposed plan balances preservation with progress, and we believe it will enhance the vibrancy of our neighborhood while maintaining the charm that makes Lake Worth Beach unique. Furthermore, SLWD's commitment to contribute up to $500,000 toward relocation costs demonstrates a responsible and collaborative approach to development. As neighboring stakeholders, we encourage the CRA board to approve this agreement and move forward with this important initiative. We believe this project will provide long-term benefits to the entire community, and we look forward to seeing it come to fruition. Thank you for your time and consideration. Please don't hesitate to contact us if we can provide further input or support. Yana Pira, South M Street. As a resident of Lake Worth since 1984, I well remember a time when our downtown was dominated by empty storefronts with only dusty antique stores to break up the streetscape. When my high school was called Lake Worthless by students from other schools. We have come a long way and have huge potential. I am in full support of the project and its positive impact on our city. Todd Ketchum, South K Street. I am submitting this comment in support of the proposed public-private partnership with the city and Sunshine Lake Worth Development Contributing Structure Relocation Agreement. I heartily approve moving forward with this project. Too long has our city languished and tottered towards dissolution. Although this project will not address all of the obstacles the city faces, it's a step in the right direction. Please vote to approve. Vice Mayor Malega. This triple P with the WMOTA project is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us to embrace not only the arts and really set ourselves aside from the rest of the county, but to create a more walkable downtown atmosphere. There have been false rumors about the visitor count to the existing location that I wish to address for the record. WMOTA closed its doors to the public in order to pack up the collection securely in late 2022. They relocated and began construction on the temporary location in September of 23. The space was open to the public officially in January of 2025. This is over 14 months of being closed to the public. I do believe the visitor data they provided is accurate. That's it. Thank you.
Jenny Powell, 224 North Palm Way. This conversation has been a little alarming and encouraging. I had no idea it was so easy to get permission to remove a cottage. I live in a cottage that's over 100 years old. We bought it from the original owner in 1989. And it's a labor of love for sure. But I mean, my experience was that it is almost impossible to do any work, for one thing, and to actually tear one down unless it's, I mean, we have an experienced architect who said she could have restored it. So I would really hate to lose these cottages. I hated to see the loss between L and M Street years ago. It just seems wrong in so many ways. I agree with the previous commenter about Sunday Village. If you haven't seen it, it's good to go look at it. I haven't
seen it in a while, but I didn't realize what was happening at the time. But I think Del Rey has realized over the years that they have overbuilt, and their downtown is not as appealing. This is right off downtown, and it's going to be very cool. And maybe we have the potential of turning First Avenue South into something like that. I don't know. I mean, obviously even though everybody says it's not a done deal with WMODA, I feel like we are, that battle is lost. So if we can do something with the historical cottages, and make it into a Sunday Village type of place, I think we should look at it. I also feel that it is a lot of cost. I agree with Daniel in some ways. The cost of this, when that money could be put towards a pool, that's not a bad idea either. For WMODA's share, it would be 500,000 would go back into the development of the Arts Alley, I believe. And the city wouldn't have to pay for the renovation, but I think there's an argument on both sides. But I would also like to see if all of this comes about as it's written now, I want to see the true cost of this project to the city. I'm a taxpayer, and we are not the same as a restaurant that moves into downtown. That's their risk, and hopefully they've done their homework. They've done their due diligence. I want to know what the true cost of this project is to the city. I'm a taxpayer. Some of my money is being used for this. So I want to know what the cost is. I mean, Mr. Wiener's contribution is set. That's $500. I'm assuming if it costs more than that to move the cottages, that's the city's share. And the renovation is the city's share. So those are all costs that I would like to see on paper, and a full accounting of the garage, everything.
Your time is up.
I understand.
No.
Mimi May, 167 Yale Drive. As much as I appreciate a heated discussion on what to do with the cottages, that's really going to be a later meeting. And it's going to come back to us exactly as we said, after we have the assessments, after we have the data, after we have what everybody is asking for. So I think that it's very clear that that's not what we're talking about today. All we're talking about today is, are we going to go forward? So if we find out that we need to move these, are we agreeing to do so? Maybe. But tonight is, let's move forward and let's agree. I mean, really what we're agreeing to is the fact that WMODA is going to pay $500,000, whether we move them or not. That's it. What we do with those structures, what you guys and we decide to do with those structures, is a later conversation. Today's conversation is, are we going to let them put the money into this and then decide later what to do with the actual structures? So I think we do. That's why I voted for it last week. But I just wanted anyone who's in the audience to kind of hear that that's not what we're talking about right now. So we don't need to say it now and say it in a month from now. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like a vote on the I'm sorry, come on up.
Benny's on the beach. Lee Lipton, Benny's on the beach. I'm just sitting here at my first CRA meeting. Congratulations. And I'm just listening. This is a world-class art gallery, is what I'm listening. This is something that I would imagine all cities anywhere would kill for. I always hear that Lake Worth is an artsy town. Well, this is about as artsy as you can get. Music, art, that's what Lake Worth is. Is a prison moving into town? Are we moving houses for prisons or whatever? I don't know. Is it strip clubs? This is like an art museum. It's not just an art museum. It's a world-class art museum. I'm sitting here in amazement that there's any objection to an art museum coming into town. So I thought I'd stand up and say that. Thank you.
Now we had a motion, a second, and discussion. It is time for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Do we have any nays?
Nay.
Okay, thank you. The motion passes. At this time, we're going to talk about pro-housing pathway to removing obstacles funding 2024 and approval of our grant agreement.
Hello, okay. Before you is a copy of our grant agreement that we got from the Department of Housing and Urban Development, which needs to be signed, which will allow us to get $4.4 million sent to us in our line of credit. And that $4.4 million will be split with Riviera Beach to be used for affordable housing, not just to build affordable housing, but to also look for obstacles to affordable housing. So we're going to meet with city staff probably next week and talk about perhaps maybe what some of those obstacles are and how maybe some funding could help with that. Sorry. But tonight I'm just asking you to please approve the agreement so we can send it in and they can put the money in of our line of credit.
Do I have a motion?
Yep.
Because you've done it.
I'll start. Okay, so this is a motion to approve grant funding with the Department of Housing and Urban Development. And and that we approve and execute the agreement.
Do I have a second?
A second.
It's time for discussion. Does anyone have any questions regarding the discussion? Do we have any public comment on this issue? Hence, we have no public comment. It is time for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nay? Any nays? Okay, it passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joan, the Executive Director's report.
Okay, really quickly, this weekend we have Art Wars over at Hatch. If you haven't gone, it's a fantastic local artist extravaganza where you see live art being done. There's food trucks, there's DJs, there's actually something that allows, I don't know, this like dogs to participate, which I'm totally fascinated with. I'm like thinking like, we need to bring the cats too, you know what I mean?
What time is it?
That's why I like them. It is from 6 to 10 p.m. on Saturday.
6 to 10. Thank you.
And then following that, next month, we're having an exhibition called The Art of Kimono, which we are using to celebrate Women's History Month. And that is Saturday, March 1st. The opening reception is from 5 p.m. to 9 a.m. And there's an outdoor market and pardon? What did I say, AM?
It's a long one.
I'm ready to party, guys. There's going to be an outdoor market. There's also going to be gallery viewings. There'll be foldable art that's done also by local artists. So please put that on your calendar. The exhibit lasts from March 1st to the 29th. Also in your packet, there's one of the ads that we actually did in-house, which I think is absolutely beautiful. It's called Happiness Comes in Waves. And it's just, an overall marketing piece that we've used actually in the Sun Sentinel City and Shore magazine as part of our relationship with the Sun Sentinel, just general marketing for our beautiful city. An update on affordable housing activities is next. I'll go through this pretty quickly. Habitat for Humanity currently has 5 lots. They will be building 7 homes. As you know, next month is the Women's Build in March. If anybody's interested, please let me know. We do have a CRA team. The Community Land Trust currently has 6 lots and they will be building 14 units. Community Partners has 2 lots and they will be building 5 units for a total of 13 lots that will result in 26 affordable units, all on the west side of town. We also have another 15 lots on that side that we are still working with partners on. Do have a slight update for Inhabit. They did begin on the lot on Lake Avenue in 1310. They ran almost immediately into an issue with the water main that runs down the alleyway. Instead of being 3 feet below, it's 3 inches below.
Project is cursed.
It kind of is. So obviously that needs to be dropped down a number of feet in order for the developer to put in a driveway because all of his parking comes in through the alleyway. So at this time, we've been going back and forth with attorneys and with Inhabit. I don't have a future plan for you yet, whether they're going to continue or not. We certainly hope they will. And David's been working really hard with their attorney to make sure it happens. But it is going to be a joint effort between the developer, the city, and the CRA in order to get this done. Madison Terrace, demo is underway and the foundation work is going to begin shortly, and that is for the 55 and over community on South Dixie Highway and 8th. They have a 15-month time frame for the development. Deco Green on the north end of Dixie Highway, they will be finished in the second quarter of 2025. And then their other project, which is Lake Worth Station, which is H and 10th Avenue North, they're ready to begin construction right before summer. And again, those are, I believe it's 91 units with 78 of them being affordable. So there's definitely some relief coming in the near future. And that is all I have for you. Thank you.
At this time we have board members' comments. If you would like to make a comment, we'll start on that end.
Not tonight.
I'm jazzed for Art Wars. That was fantastic last year. I'm glad that we're doing it annually. Joan, I don't remember signing a waiver for 1,000 Lake. Did you make us sign waivers before we walked through that? Because that was pretty scary. So Donna, be careful what you wish for. Where Joan will let you wander. I don't remember any precautions, but maybe, yeah. Thank you.
Donna?
No, I'm willing to sign a waiver and go take a look. Thanks. Good meeting, everybody.
I'd like to go for sure.
Yeah. Or
I think we have to go separately.
Do we? We'll keep a distance and wear a mask. We can't talk. Thanks for a good meeting. Thanks, Joan. Thanks, David. Thanks, board. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yep. Thanks. Good meeting. I'm excited to make progress on the Wamoto project. It is where we started a long time ago, where it was just a redevelopment with commercial and residential, and met with a lot of opposition. We've come a long way to actually, my goodness, find a place where we can not only get a museum, but solve some of the parking problems that are in the study, right? So it's, I don't know, it's a really exciting time. Emily, I hope you feel better. Chair, I hope you feel better.
Thank you.
Chris, you should have read those comments for Emily. I'm just saying. All right. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. I was feeling under the weather, but I would not have missed this meeting because it is just too important to the future of Lake Worth Beach. Hi, Daniel. I'm sorry. Would you like to comment?
Yes. I'd like to comment about some of the rhetoric that was put forth by some of the candidates running for office in our city, specifically about expanding the CRA. I think it's very interesting that a lot of the candidates are running on, I suppose, or stated their support for expanding the CRA, because as we already know, the city itself is already having a hard time providing the adequate services and infrastructure to the residents of Lake Worth. And so I posed a question to these candidates that are running on or using this type of rhetoric, how diverting more ad valorem tax dollars to the CRA, which is specifically focused on, the promotion of business and eliminating blight, how they can rationalize diverting more money from the city when there's a lot of pressing issues. The CRA does a good job at what it does. I question the effectiveness of our affordable housing project. When it comes to larger projects like the terrace and projects similar to that, I see how the CRA is the adequate instrument for this type of project. But because it's a big project, the benefit is going to render a lot of units. But I really pose the question, and I contemplate whether or not the CRA is really the adequate instrument to provide affordable housing. So I wanted to bring that up because it's, it's something that people who look to represent parts of our city are running on. And I question its rationale totally. I also wanted to bring up a question. Um, and I regret that I couldn't be there in person, um, so that I could, communicate it, and you could, the board could see that it's not a politically driven, but it's a question that I have because I personally did run for office, um, and at the time that I ran, I was serving on the charter review board, and I was a member of the education task force. When I qualified to become a candidate, I was asked to resign, um, in a written letter, resigning from the appointed positions. And so I would like to know how the chair has been able to remain serving on the CRA, having already qualified for uh, to run in the second district. And obviously, this is not a question to be answered
This
now,
is
but it's
David,
something.
Mr. Morgan, that's a question for the city and the city attorney.
Yeah, I understand. It's a question I'm posing.
It's not a dual office.
It's yeah, no, I know, but I thought it's important to bring up, and so that's why I brought it up. But that's the only comments I have for tonight.
Very hard for me not to respond. It's very hard for me not to respond to your question, Daniel. But what I can tell you is the CRA is governed by state law. And the deciding decision regarding as to whether or not I could stay on the CRA is a decision by the Attorney General for the state of Florida. And this decision also went through the city attorney. And so if you have a question, please contact them, and I'm sure that they will provide you with the same information that they provided me with. Thank you.
I'm happy to move adjournment.
Yes, motion to adjourn.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I have.